And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because people on Facebook don't like to be told, dude, really? Come on. Source? Prove it? Anything? Could you? Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Triple all over the place. You can find me pretty much under all social media and apparently on Jake Farwharton's show a lot recently because he's been scraping the bottom of the barrel this week. But that's a whole other thing for later. Let me introduce you to a well-rounded grouping tonight, and there's actually good reason because rejoining us, who's probably up way past his bedtime right now. Good evening, Dalan.
We missed you.
Rounded. Is it really bad on my face or something? Or
yes, you are.
Oh, and you missed one on the whole thing about the Facebook. Let's see if I can quote this guy as best I can. Citation needed. Ain't that the truth?
I think your weight loss program regime looks like it's been working miracles.
Yeah, it's called the oncology diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll come back to that. From just north across the border, sporting the new colors for the Canadian flag.
Yes.
Good morning, Heretic Woman.
Good morning. Guess what weekend it is?
It is big time weekend. From the Midwest of the U.S., good evening, Brigid. Back.
Good evening.
And from just outside of, oh my God, is there no end to the number of 18 holes he can shoot? Hi, UnrenownedTech.
I'm not wearing any pants.
Yeah, funny enough, I was just telling the group before we went live that I'm proudly sporting my Ride for Roswell hat because I got that as swag. I'll tell you about that in a moment. I am proudly drinking out of my Ride for Roswell bike.
Sponsored by Wegmans.
Yes, sponsored by Wegmans.
I like Wegmans. They make a great breakfast pizza.
Yes, Wegmans is no longer sponsoring it at this point, so this is a couple years old. But Wegmans, great place. No, we don't get any kickback from them, but if you've got a Wegmans near you, oh, you know how good it is. I am also proudly wearing my Holy Crap t-shirt. No, it's not ours, but that's okay. And I may or may not be wearing pants tonight.
He's wearing leggings.
No, I'm not.
Oh wait, he's wearing jeggings.
No.
You know what? He's got one of those rompers under the t-shirt.
Oh, God.
Okay,
he's got a unitard.
Great, thanks.
Okay, why exactly did I come back?
Because you wanted
for the face palms. You came back for the face palms.
You wanted to remember all the great lines from the Breakfast Club. I'm wearing the required uniform.
Well, we all know that hangouts are no pants zone. So,
or in Shujin's case, he's wearing the minimum required. Yeah,
I'm wearing all my flare. That's what it's.
Minimum required flare.
So, the Ride for Roswell was earlier today. I did not get a lot of sleep last night because, well, Dalan and I and Joey, we did our usual Friday night show. And I was couldn't get to sleep because, you know, it's kind of a big deal. So I got about 3 maybe hours of sleep. We had a great day. Everything went off without a hitch. We had a great time on the 20-mile course. However, I have to very specifically acknowledge a couple of pieces. As far as the amount of money that we raised, I have in something on the order of about $900. I forget exactly how much it was. Trippin', hi, we see you. I've got another $200 that still is in transit. It's kind of complicated, but I have approximately $1,100 that's coming in. The little one has ish $100, and Stacy has 600-ish, a little bit more than $600. So we've got nearly $2,000 that has come in for the team. and we have a team again for a change. It's not just myself and the little one. Now, I was telling the guys this really quickly. I want to very specifically say, the guys that Ride for Roswell, thank you so much. You guys did a great job. All the volunteers that came out, you guys did a bang-up job. The ham radio community running communications, whoever was running net control, congratulations. You got a compliment, which is not an easy job in the first place. But I very, very especially want to thank the guys who really tried to help us in finishing as a team. We started as a team, and we finished as a team, and I want to very, very much thank Stacy on our team for finishing with us. We stopped at one point, the first rest stop, a little bit before it. Her front tire just spontaneously deflated. We weren't even on the bikes. It just spontaneously deflated. Apparently, the tube broke right where the valve is, and it just spontaneously deflated. I had a spare tube, and we replaced it, and we were ready to go. Not even 5 seconds before we were going to get back on our bikes, the back tire spontaneously deflated the exact same way. I'm going to say it because this is a not safe for work episode. What are the fucking odds?
This has reality show and sitcom all written all over it.
Oh, the fucking great God Murphy was just laughing so hard. And we didn't know what to do. Fortunately, there was a Bert's Bikes across the street from where we were, and Stacy just went in, and it's like, you know what, guys, you go ahead, and maybe I'll catch up, maybe I won't. We'll see how it works. Well, the little one and I went on our way, and we got to the last rest stop before we were done with the 20-mile course. Right before we got to the rest stop, guess who drove up in one of the sweep vehicles and said, I gotta get out. This is my team. Fucking Stacy caught up with us, didn't even realize it, and she didn't know it was us until she picked her head up from working Facebook on her phone and recognized us, because there I am with my tandem bike and the kid carrier on the back. You knew exactly who it was. There it was, and we finished the ride as a team, even though the great God Murphy tried everything in his power to stop it. So I wanted to very much say, Stacy, thank you. Congratulations. And she said, the first year was the year that my wife passed, and her t-shirt was a 5 extra large. This year, it was just a large. Congratulations so many times over, hon.
Damn.
So there we go. Got that message, and thank you. And yeah, Trip, one yes, but both oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty much what it was like. Well, one just spontaneously going, okay, yeah, it can happen, but
it stands to reason, though. Like you were talking before we went in the R, you were talking about where it happened. You said basically right at the valve stem, it had rotted. So
yep.
If one's going to rot, if the two tires are the same age, logically the other one's going to go too. I mean,
yeah, but we had no idea that something like this was just going to spontaneously both of them go.
Yeah, fair point. But I mean, again, you look at the age of it.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we weren't even on the bike at the time. That's the thing that drove us absolutely bananas.
What was the temperature?
It was 70 Fahrenheit. So 12, 13, I think, something like that.
Well, 72 is closer to 20 degrees, in real temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm doing the conversion wrong.
Yeah, no, but that's fine. No, the only reason I asked that to see could heat have been a factor, but it doesn't sound like it.
No, not at that temperature.
No, it was a beautiful day though.
Yeah.
So you know what? As far as we're concerned, hey Murphy,
fuck you.
Yeah, you still made it. So yeah. You know what? I'm not going to say anything to Murphy right now because
I can.
Yeah, you can. I can't because I got way too much shit that could still go wrong with me.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But we will save information about that for later.
Mm-hmm.
For right now, though, you know, I'm really glad that we made it through. I was really proud to be able to do this one. Anyway, there's a downside to this whole thing. I don't have coffee in the house right now. It hurts. That's why I'm drinking Tang right now. So don't give me shit.
There's no
Okay,
caffeine in Tang.
I don't even like coffee, and I have coffee in the house.
Yeah, I know. I've gone through the last of my coffee, and I didn't get a new batch yet.
See, the bad thing for me working from home for the past 2.5 months is that my house stock of coffee is getting hammered.
Yeah,
I'm starting to get to realize just exactly how much coffee I normally drink when I'm at the office.
Yeah.
Like, how in the hell am I still alive? Like,
Caffeine withdrawal is a bitch.
That's just it, though, Tech. I'm not going through withdrawal right now. But
he's drinking it all.
My in-house supply is taking one hell of a pounding.
It's going to be a bitch.
No, that's what the run tomorrow is, to go get myself another couple of pounds of which one is it I have right now? 454 horsepower from Kicking Horse Coffee Company.
Ooh, you're going for the good stuff.
Well, I love. I don't know if you guys.
We don't get that brand down here now.
Well, I know you don't get it down there, and I don't know if you get it in Ontario.
Yeah, you can.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
I don't drink coffee.
If you go over to the Canadian Superstore over on St. Cat's, that when they had it, because that's where we stopped on the way back.
Yeah, I love some of the names. Like, you've got the 454, you've got Smartass.
Yeah.
You've got Kick-Ass.
Get the bear, if I remember right.
I'm not sure if they have the one called Dumbass yet, but I imagine it's on its way. But yeah, like we use the same kind of coffees at work. We all use Kicking Horse at work. So I'm kind of used to it. But yeah, that 454, it's liquid gold.
It's good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right before I get you guys started, Trippin, I just wanted to drop one quick thing at you, because this is kind of tied into something that Heretic Woman got on a tirade on a couple of times on Facebook. Then to look up and see a bike shop talk about some great luck. The best luck was we were not on the bikes and rolling at the time, because that could have been dangerous. That could have been painful.
That's a good way to do a face plant. Yeah. And the reason why I was saying, you know, the kind of thing that you were on Facebook about recently was, you know, the Christian movies or whatever the hell it was. No. I've been watching true crime shows, and there was the one in particular. This woman was shot 12 times by home invaders, and and she's like, and I thank God for saving me. I'm like, what the actual fuck? How about not letting you get shot 12 times? That would be a little better, don't you think?
How about giving the home invaders a stroke before they even get a chance to get in through the door?
Exactly. Break down their car, you know. Oh, look, all their guns just seized up. Like, you know, you think you could do better than letting you get shot 12 times and oh, I'm sure, you know, the surgeons had nothing to do with it. You know.
Oh no, absolutely nothing. I mean, what? No, really, what do they know?
Would have been really cool if they'd been zapped by lightning. Then you got a real problem on your hands. Oh wait,
exactly.
Oh, there's an awkward moment for you in the Pantheon.
But yeah, that was. I'm trying to remember what the other circumstance was, because there was 2 shows that I watched, and somebody was like, "Oh God, save me from such and such," and I was like, "Really? Oh yeah."
What was that? Wasn't it one that Seth Andrews did about the burning car, and that the Bible made it through?
Yes.
So this here's a divine book. No, buddy. physics, chemistry, and everything else is totally working against you on this one, pal.
Yeah, does 451 degrees Fahrenheit ring a bell? Think about that one a minute.
Yeah. Or the one I always like is, you know, thanking God for sparing you some catastrophe is like thanking the serial killer for murdering the family next door and not yours.
That's the one. That's the one.
That makes perfect sense, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, here's the other one. The other murder I was watching, it was a priest that had been murdered, and they were tracking the priest's cell phone, and the cell phone had just enough juice for the police to find the cell phone, which inevitably led them to the killer. And the victim's sister was like, and that was just from God. God kept that phone on just long. And I'm like, how about God not letting your brother get stabbed to death? What was it, like, you know, 30 odd times? And he was a bloody priest, you know, like he's supposed to be God's servant. And yeah.
I don't know.
But
there's some
kind
of public service joke in there somewhere.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. But yeah, that was the first one where I was like, really? You serious? He's keeping the cell phone on, but not saving the priest from getting horribly stabbed to death.
I had one. I actually had one. Not a crime story, but something similar. When I was down in Texas, a couple years ago. I was there on a project, and my coworker and I, we were done for lunch. We were going to go grab something somewhere, and just as we're getting out of the car, the clouds opened up. Like we are talking. Well, okay. For one thing, I didn't know Texas could have a rainstorm that big. Also, I didn't know Texas could have a rainstorm at all. Yeah, and apparently, even their storms turn into flash floods most of the time. It looks like.
Yikes.
So we make it through this deluge, and I mean, I'm half expecting to see some old guy with a white beard and a robe leading a bunch of animals down the road or something like that. So we pull into this diner, and I mean, the food there was great, no lie. But we mentioned something to the waitress about his. Yeah, you got to thank God because we sure needed that rain. And I'm thinking to myself, there are going to be basements flooded here pretty soon.
Beware of what you wish for.
Yeah, like we got outside. I'm like, I look at my coworker and I ask her, like, so, okay, are we swimming to the car or what's the deal here? Should we like rent a boat to get across the frickin' parking lot?
Yikes.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah. So, well, remember they had been praying for rain for a while, so you know it's about time it finally got there.
It's cumulative prayer, right? So you gotta know when to stop your praying because you prayed for too much now.
Yeah, I keep thinking of like when we had Ron on the show. Like, you know how different state and province license plates, they usually have a little slogan on them.
Yes.
You know, like here in Alberta, it's Wild Rose Country.
And Ontario is yours to discover.
You know.
Well, it could be Je me souviens.
You know what? I'm not even going to know. But, you know, you got Missouri, the show me state.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure what.
Honestly, I picture a dude in a trench coat every time I hear that.
Okay, that's. I never thought of that until now. Damn you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But for Texas, you know, the whole thing about, you know, the rapture and all that stuff that, you know, he was telling us about, they really should put, like, not in God we trust or not, you know, Lord bless you, whatever that. Their slogan should actually be any day now.
Yeah.
That seems to be their attitude. You know?
Or look busy.
Well, I mean, that goes hand in hand with the whole any day now. He says,
yep.
I remember him saying something along the lines of, yeah, nobody does shit down there because they're all expecting to get raptured the next day.
Yep.
Fuck, what a way to live.
So let's just remember this one, by the way, Heretic Woman. There was back in the 80s, there was a guy who was running around in a trench coat, flashing people around Central Park.
Oh, was it?
And three ladies who had known each other for a long time. They'd walk around the perimeter because you don't do mall walking out there. Flashed them. Let's see if I remember right. First one was 87. She was 87 years. Oh my God, she was 87 years young. Just had a stroke. Just second lady was she was 80. Because it was 87. She was 85. She also ended up having a stroke. Third little old lady couldn't reach. I don't understand how that's supposed to work, but I'm gonna try to figure out why it was the way that it was.
It'd be stroking. Bow, bow.
So let me go ahead and get everything rolling over here. I did warn you it was a not safe for work episode, right, guys? Good.
Yep. Stroke it to the east and stroke it to the west.
Plans got
So let me get everything rolling for real at this point, because we spun this one into the ground. I'm almost sorry that Joseph isn't with us tonight, because I think that he's gonna have a lot to say about my opening. With 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. I do not swear. Fuck no, I don't. Yeah. So that's got nothing to do with actual swearing. There is something that's going around in a lot of circles, and we kind of debated whether or not to talk about this one before. I'm sort of going to talk about this one now. Some of you have been hearing, if you've been following other podcasters and other skeptical groups, something called the Pro-Truth Pledge. And it's a pledge to basically sign on board to put your name onto a roster for yourself, for your organization, for whatever it is, to basically say, I'm going to follow the rules of, well, self-imposed rules, really, of trying to make sure that everything that I put out there is going to be truthful and is well-researched to the best of my ability, and I will not knowingly forward misinformation. And I had been contacted by the person who had been pushing for this a while ago, and I was basically said, hey, look, I'd love to be on your show to discuss it. And I did what anybody in my position would normally do, which is to, first off, why do you know my show? I mean, come on, I don't have a large audience. We don't have a large audience. I mean, no matter, never mind downplaying, our impact, we really don't have a huge audience. I mean, we're no cognitive dissonance. We're no scathing atheist. We're no thinking atheist. We're our little niche. So I got this contact, and I'm like, this is weird. So I approached it the same way that I would for any other piece of information I'm unfamiliar with. Basically the way that you'd treat spam mail, which is to kind of, this seems a little hanky. Okay, what's going on? So I did a little bit of research, and I did a little bit of talking, and I found out from some other people who had spoken about this and with the person in question. And I basically decided that this really wasn't the kind of thing that we were going to do on our show. We were not going to discuss it directly because something about it didn't sit right quite with me, with what I was getting from it. And it finally dawned on me this past week what it is. And this is where I think Joseph is probably going to have a lot to say about this later. I, and by extension, holy crap, the Vlogcast, will not sign up for the Pro-Truth Pledge. And there's a good goddamned reason why. You don't need to find our names on someone else's collated list. If you think that just because we're on somebody's list that says they're trustworthy, you can trust them, is the way through for actual skepticism, you got another thing coming. Other people want to go ahead and do it. Very large, well-respected names in skepticism want to go ahead and put their name onto this whole thing and sign up for it and tout it out there. Fine. I got no problem with that. I'm not going to do it. And by extension, we as Holy Crap the Vlogcast are not going to. Now, the individual co-hosts, that is entirely up to them if they want to follow through with it. And I am not going to sway them one way or the other because that's their choice. But HCTV and myself will not be. Because if we do something, if we say something, if we put something out there, first off, we're lay people. We're just like everybody else. We are not necessarily researchers. We've got information. But if you're not sure if we've got it right, if you're sure that we've got it right, but you want to go ahead and double check anyway for yourself, I actually want you to do that. Not because I want to be proven wrong, because nobody likes that, but because that's what actual skepticism should be about. You're not sure? Check for yourself. Let us know if we screwed something up, because we're going to try our best to make sure that we've got it right in the first place. But I don't want you to trust us or me just because my name is on a list with a gold star next to it. Do your homework too. That's what actual skepticism should be about. And don't quote me on that, but let me know if I've got it wrong. This is episode 168 on the docket, Your Honor. As I've said already, this is going to be a highly volatile, highly not safe for work episode. It's been a while since I've intentionally said that to everybody because I labeled this one the Bart Simpson syndrome. The Bart Simpson syndrome is, I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. You can't prove anything. And if you read the news article that went along with this one, you will understand exactly why several of us, at least two of us, really fucking pissed off at this story. Before we go ahead and do Heretic Woman, I did not, unfortunately, go looking for any news tonight because I've been a little bit wrapped up with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Do we have any new news? I didn't think so.
No, not that I saw.
Okay. For what it's worth, though, the video that we mentioned about last week of rapes kids and such, I did get the opportunity of seeing that. That was really heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. So to all of you guys, we're still here and we're still hoping for you. As of the recording of tonight's show, this is now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, this is now 5 years, 8 days since Rafe Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Our thoughts, our hopes are still with you and your family. Good luck. So the story that was in the news is a matter of, well, you were given your warning. Kitty fucking. Collusion. Hiding evidence. Obstructing justice. Basically putting the life and health and liberty and safety of groups of people in danger because somebody who was in authority that shouldn't have been was moved around and information that said this is a bad person was quietly shuttled away. This was the news story out of England, which made matters arguably worse. Because if memory serves, is not the Christian church hold it, wait a minute. I don't remember if it was the Church of England that this happened with. I don't remember seeing that one way or the other in the article. So I need to backtrack on that one just a little bit. Sorry.
Well, it says that he was former Bishop of Gloucester, which
doesn't say which group, though.
No, but it also talks about the Archbishop of Canterbury and all of that. Those would be Church of England. So I would say more likely than not, it was Church of England.
More likely than not, yes. But at the same time, it isn't specifically saying Church of England. We can easily infer it probably is. But unfortunately, to be fair, we have to kind of go, okay, it could be some other denomination of Christianity because, well, let's face it. How many of them are there? All of them.
Oh, bazillion.
So basically, somebody was jailed. First off, this guy was jailed for 15 months. Dig that. 15 months for kitty diddling, for kitty rape, for teenagers and young men. He was listed as. Now, I'm going to go on record as...
First of all, I just want to say, quick Google, yes, Church of England.
Okay. So we'll go with that. Curious, that was not specifically listed in the article, don't you think?
Not so much, because it's kind of assumed in England.
Yes, but at the same time...
Because it's the only official religion in the country, so... I just from my reading of English news and pop culture, that wasn't unexpected to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance in their writings that we don't pick up because, well, we don't live there.
Agreed.
Like if Chris was on, he probably could have snapped it up right away and said, yeah, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Because, well, he's got the geographical and social context to properly read an article published in a UK paper.
I think they're more likely to mention the branch of silliness when it's not the Church of England.
That's a good point.
But anyway.
That's a good point.
But anyway, I did verify that's
okay.
Where he's from.
Okay. So the Church of England, for a little bit of context, as was said, is the official religion, state religion of England, or I don't know if it's just England or if it's the Greater Isles.
I think it's the United Kingdom.
Okay. Okay. So the fact that it is the official for Great Britain, this puts a very, very large, forgive me for no pun is intended on this one, a very large taint on the auspice of that group. Now, we've known over here on North American soil, this kind of stuff has happened. Well, let's face it, anything over 0 is too much.
Yes. And
we know full well that there are, unfortunately, a lot of situations, as the guys over at Scathing Atheist have said, you know, our lead story for 3 weeks in a row is about child molestation by pastors. And I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but you get the idea. And unfortunately, that happens. Well, it's more than 0, so that's a problem.
Not only that, oh, look, our congregation forgave them, and they forgave themselves, and they pray, and they felt really bad about what they did. So therefore, you know, they shouldn't see any jail time. You know,
Yeah, and then 10 years from now, they can't figure out why that one kid is now, sitting on top of a bell tower taking out people with a sniper rifle.
Or why that same priest, or pederast, as I like to call them, has been moved to a different church. And, oh, look, little Susie got diddled by the freaking rapist again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's...
It's the same guy.
I know. And
so here's the thing. Why the hell are people leaving their children alone with priests? Come on, people, wake the fuck up.
It's because God.
Yeah, because, they have better morals than anyone because Jesus. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And there's...
I'm trying not to throw up right now.
Oh, boy.
I know.
You know what? You better stomach a couple more gravel, because I glommed onto something just recently this week that it's not entirely related to the church and what they do, but if this thing ever got a foothold in sort of social norms or anything like that, it could be a disaster. Have any of you guys heard of the hashtag Heart Progress?
No.
No.
Okay, this was...
In my defense, I spent very, very small amounts of time on Twitter.
That's good, because to be perfectly honest, I spend way too much time dealing with social media stuff these days. Why? Because I'm kind of housebound. And, I don't have much of a life, and I don't have TV. Anyways.
Netflix and chill.
Now, yeah, well, the TLDR version of this is, I believe it was started off as a parody by people who are anti-LGBT. Because what they wanted to do is they wanted to add a P onto the end of LGBTQ. That's as far as I'm going. Okay, I don't remember the rest of the alphabet associated with that whole thing, and I think
you can do LGBTQ+. I've seen folks do that.
Okay, yeah. Why did they want to end the letter P on it?
Shujin, Tech, are you sitting down? No, pedosexual. The idea is they wanted pedophilia not to be considered a mental disorder, but yet another type of sexual orientation, the same as being homosexual or any of the others in an alphabet. Now, again, I believe this started as a parody, but groups like NAMBLA,
of course, they're going to
North American Man-Boy Love Association, and other groups, I believe, have actually hooked onto this thing and are actually trying to start pushing it. And the thing is, if by some chance, we're not talking a ghost of a chance. I mean, I watched a couple of YouTube collabs with a whole bunch of people who, some people might call them shit posters, but oh boy, we are talking a transcontinental hate fest towards this whole Heart Progress thing.
Good.
But if it ever took hold, or if it became almost socially acceptable, then the church gets free license.
Yep.
So, yeah, I know it's disgusting. It's sickening that there's even this kind of undercurrent out there.
Well, yeah.
Now, again, I could be raging against it, and someone might come up to me and say, hey, you know what? The whole thing's a spoof anyway. And you know what? I will gladly, I'll be happy if it turns out that I'm completely wrong on this. But man, if I'm right, fuck, lock and load.
I can't speak to that specific campaign, but it wasn't very long ago that I became aware that there was someone on my friends list whom I had actually interacted with fairly regularly, who I had posted the collection plate picture with Pedophile Defense Fund on it, and this person got a little annoyed with me and like, why would you post that? And I'm like, why would I not post that?
Really?
Well, it should say child molester, I'm like, pedophile, child molester. Okay, yes, I can see the difference, but what's your point? And they were trying to tell me that, you know, well, it's okay to be a pedophile, but it's, you know, it's different than child molesting, which, yes, but and this person then, because we disagreed on some stuff, and they got very upset with me. And I found out why, because later on they got really mad and said that they are a pedophile and that I was being bigoted towards them. And I'm sorry. And I know maybe Shu and I might disagree on this a little bit, but I'm okay with being a bigot against a pedophile. And I said, you know what? I understand that what you're saying, that you didn't choose to feel that way. And I think it's very unfair that that's how you've developed, if that's what you're saying. But to me, the difference is what you desire is inherently harmful. It doesn't matter how you go about it. It is inherently harmful. And the argument is, well, you know, he said, I would never hurt a child. And I believe him at that point. He said, you know, I think it's wrong and I would never do that. The problem I have is that you may be in control of your faculties today, and you may be aware that those desires are unacceptable and that you're not wanting to do that today. He's only maybe, I don't know, I think he's under 30. What happens if you get a debilitating something like dementia or Alzheimer's? What happens if you get a head injury or something happens where you are no longer able to control those urges?
Hell, what happens if you get drunk?
Exactly. Or somebody slips you some drug
or ecstasy or any of those things. Anything that impairs your cognitive functions.
But now, to be clear, what I found with this Heart Progress is that they're not trying to distinguish. They're not splitting hairs like what you've said.
Right.
They basically want the term pedosexual to become as normalized as homosexual or bisexual is. So that, and they basically want to do away with the age of consent.
Well, it sounds like it, depending on who's pushing for this, because if it's the anti-LGBT crowd, then they're trying to create their own slippery slope.
No, and it's not. Like I said, it was originally started as a parody by the anti-LGBT.
Right. It's because this fellow that I was talking to was basically saying, you know, it's my orientation and I should be treated just the same as a gay person. Yeah. And I was like, fuck that. No way. Yeah.
So yeah, basically this particular shit stain that you're mentioning here, the one that you know, is actually, I imagine he either is part of or would definitely fit in with this Heart Progress group.
So. Yes, I would think so.
Yeah, so call this a PSA. If you see anything like this, especially for you, Heretic Woman, because, okay, you know, for those of you listening to the audio portion of this, she is a redhead. She is a Spitfire. And if you know her on Facebook, wear a cup and a helmet and a face mask might help too.
Yeah, let's just say I am not friends with that person any longer.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that if you see this stuff starting to crop up, go after it with all the zeal that you go after Islam. Because, quite frankly, actually kind of what they're going for kind of lines up with one of the tenets of Islam, doesn't it?
Which one is? Oh, yes, the whole,
Aisha? Need I say more?
Fucking a 9-year-old is perfectly acceptable, yes.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, hold on a second, Dalan, because it just suddenly dawned up. And by the way, yes, I made it back. I'm sorry, something locked up and whatever.
That's okay.
This is a Poe. This is if this is started as a sticking somebody just to kind of twist them with your thumb in their face. This is a fucking disgusting Poe.
If it is, like I said, I will gladly withdraw whatever I've said.
No,
but the impression I've gotten from some people is that this has gone legit.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, is there a difference between the term pedophilia and anything else? Yes, the pedant in me says yes, because it's a descriptor, as opposed to, well, let's call the action what it actually is: child rape.
Yes.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, somebody has a feeling for, yeah, I'm not really comfortable about that, but I'm not gonna look to have you monitored 24/7, but by the officials. But you know full well I will be watching like a freaking hawk. But we can't prosecute for thought crime until somebody actually does something.
No, and that's the thing.
That doesn't mean that we can't be careful and watch out for ourselves. That's a different matter.
Yeah, and you know, the really sad thing about this is that you look at homosexuality, let's say a few decades ago. I don't want to put a complete timeline on it, because then the pedant and somebody else is going to try to correct me on this.
You know, let's go with 20 years, because I mean, a lot has happened in that time frame. You muted yourself.
Damn it! Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I honestly don't know how that happened. I was nowhere near any of the keys. Maybe my microphone said, "You know what? He's about to get off on a rant. We're not going to do this." Automation. Okay, so let's go back 20 years, where it was okay to be a homosexual so long as you didn't act on that impulse. You know, like if nobody knew, then, you know, you couldn't get arrested for it. It wasn't considered illegal unless you acted on the impulse and then, you know, went and had a relationship with someone of the same sex. And these people are seeing it now being, well, it's okay to have a sexual attraction towards minors or children as long as you don't act on it.
Now there's now see, I've made the argument also of it's okay to do Civil War reenactment so long as you don't actually try seceding from the country. It's okay to watch slasher movies and love everything about Friday the 13th so long as you don't go cutting people up. You know, there are some parallels that kind of make sense. It's just this one is much more visceral because, well, let's face it, you're dealing with the age of consent, and that is a big problem.
And that becomes the other thing too. Just thinking about it now is that, again, going back to 20 years, it was an act performed between two consenting individuals. Well, two or more, depending on, you know, how good it was.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but in this case, and even if you juggle the age of consent, which has happened throughout history, you know, you can get married at 14, you can get married at 16. Age consent is now, what is it in the States right now?
It's not standardized. As a matter of fact, New York State just recently said, girls cannot be married at 14 with consent from the court and their family. You got to wait until you're at least 18. Okay. Thank you, New York State.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking as a Canadian, it's about fucking time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, except ours is 14. So, no, I think, did we move it to 16 finally?
I think we're at 16 for consent, but marriage actually can't happen until 18.
Okay.
I know that because somebody I know got special permission to be married at 17. Had a kid at 18, was divorced at 19, but again, completely different story.
Wow.
Yeah. Tell me about it. But that age of consent has changed over many, many years.
Yep.
So you know, it does kind of go with, you know, society or whatever. But the fact remains, like an 8 or 9-year-old, I don't know any kid that age, regardless of upbringing, who actually has their shit together enough to get into a relationship or to get into something like that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, well, the age of consensus. Yeah, you've also mentally scarred that kid, you fucking idiot.
And the worst part is we have some places here in the States that actually allow shit like this to happen. Like a while back, I don't remember how long ago this was. There was an 11-year-old girl in Florida who was forced to marry.
That's just been going around YouTube or Facebook this week.
I haven't been on Facebook in a while, but it's that new.
Well, I don't know, because stuff like that tends to crop up several years later.
Right, it tends to repeat and everything else. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what the age of it is, because I haven't tried to see when the origin of the timestamp. But it wouldn't be the first time here in the U.S. that a young child under the age of adulthood, by any legal sense of the definition. Hell, in Judaism, you're not an adult until you're 13. So in this poor girl's case, she's not even an adult in the religious sense. And not that there's much truck with religion, but
the thing is, if
they're
you're
married
under the
to an
of
adult,
religion, you've got a problem.
Right. The point is that these are children who cannot make consenting decisions about sexual relations, and they're being forced against their will by obviously their parents, because they're the only ones who can willingly consent to having their child married to somebody like an adult, 3 times their age or more.
Yeah.
I don't know what the age of the adult was. But the point is that even if it's 18, it doesn't matter. They're 11.
I have an article from the New York Times, which is the one that's been going around, and it's from May 26th of this year. So it's a little bit dated now. Apparently, the groom was 20.
It's still too old.
Oh, yeah.
Because
for sure.
Not because it's too old for a 20-year-old to get married. It's because an 11-year-old is not old enough to know. You ask any court of law, they're not old enough to consent to intercourse. If they're not old enough to consent to intercourse, how the hell are they old enough to consent to marriage?
Well, to put it into perspective, in the article, which is the girl herself, I haven't got to how old she is now, but she said she had become pregnant by this rapist, and she said child welfare authorities were investigating, so her family and church officials, because it was a church member who did it.
Of
course. Decided the simplest way to avoid a messy criminal case was to organize a wedding. And she's quoted as saying, "My mom asked me if I wanted to get married, and I said, I don't know what is marriage and how do I act like a wife."
Okay, I got something. And I'm gonna use an old thing. Talk to the hand. The hand right now is showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. No, I'm not going to reduce it to 1. I'm going to continue with 5 fingers. 11 years old is 5th grade. Seriously.
Yep.
Let that sink in for just a couple of extra seconds. 5th grade. I don't care if you don't know someone that's in 5th grade. At one point, the vast majority of our people were in 5th grade. What were you doing in 5th grade? What did you know about for, let's see, sex, pregnancy, marriage, actually being married, having a job, supporting yourself, paying taxes, balancing a checkbook, ordering a phone line for your wherever you're going to live? Seriously, think about that. And then say that there's something fine and holy with this.
Well, and just to go with that, it says that The former 11-year-old unwitting bride, who is now fighting for Florida to set a minimum marriage age because there isn't one apparently in Florida, says her family attended a conservative Pentecostal church and that other girls of a similar age periodically also married. Often, she says, this was to hide rapes by church elders. She said she was raped by both a minister and a parishioner and gave birth to a daughter when she was 10. And the birth certificate confirms that. So the journalist actually viewed the birth certificate and says... a judge approved the marriage to end the rape investigation, she says, telling her, what we want is for you to get married. She said it was a terrible life, recounting her years as a child raising children. She missed school and remembers spending her days changing diapers, arguing with her husband, and struggling to pay expenses. She ended up with pregnancy after pregnancy, 9 children in all, while her husband periodically abandoned her. Apparently they took the handcuffs from handcuffing him, referring to him possibly being arrested for rape, to handcuffing me by marrying me without me knowing what I was doing. You can't get a job, you can't get a car, you can't get a license, you can't sign a lease. So why allow someone to marry when they're still so young?
There's a piece that just popped up over in the live chat, and Aubrey, thank you, do see you over there, who said, quote, when I was living in Hawaii, the age of consent, and I don't have a time frame for this, by the way, I'm sorry. Aubrey, if you could kind of give a little bit of rough date on this one to kind of help this one along. Going back, when I was living in Hawaii, the age of consent was 16. All right, now I'm going to pause here a second. 16 is okay. I guess there's a little bit of wiggle room, but
you're getting into that gray, that's sort of that gray zone.
Yeah, 16, 17 gets a little okay, but all right. Anyway, going on. The outgoing governor's last act in office was to veto a bill that would have made it 18. He got lots of negative press for that. And Aubrey's following this up. This would have been around 1998 or 2000, give or take. Okay, why a governor would do something like this is... It's kind of hard to say from this kind of standpoint. It doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense because one would expect you would want to protect those that are most vulnerable. But, you know, I'm an overgrown Boy Scout. What the hell do I know? But let's also remember vetoes can be overturned if the legislatures go ahead and say, yeah, this is important enough. Let's go ahead and override that veto. So... you know, yes, you can go ahead and you can blame the governor, but the governor is just the one person. There's a whole other body that could actually say, no, this is important enough, man. Keep that in mind. Here in the U.S.
What you see over and over with these kinds of stories is, hey, let's make sure we protect whatever institution is involved, be it the government or the church. And number 2, oh goodness, we better protect this fine upstanding man who just had a momentary lapse of judgment and fuck the girl, literally. Like that, you see that over and over and over again. And it's always, well, we don't want somebody to get into trouble, do we?
Yeah, because... They shuffle the priests around. They do all the circling in the wagons because the church has to be seen as immaculate, infallible, and perfect. Yes. You know, it has to be godly.
Yes.
So when the priesthood seems to be bound and determined to push that by doing all the stuff they do, like these days, like again, we're kind of our own. We're almost an echo chamber in this respect. That we see this, we see it for what it is. You know, it's a shelter for pedophiles. You know, these, oh, I had a moment of weakness. Well, it seems you've had a moment of weakness in the entire, 15 churches your ass has been transferred to over the past 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
Across 8 countries and 4 continents.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of a mini series on Netflix called The Keepers?
Doesn't ring a bell, but then again, I don't.
I've seen the title, but I have never actually looked in to see what it was.
Very apropos to the topic. If you want to get really angry and throw stuff at your TV, definitely recommend it.
We here at Holy Crap the Vlogcast do not condone throwing any inanimate or animate objects at devices that you would have to pay money to replace. That's your own fault. So
yeah. It's a 7-part miniseries that deals with the unsolved murder of a nun in Baltimore, actually, in 1969. And at first it sounds like, it's cold case, unsolved murder, but that's just the surface. When you scratch it a little bit, you find a Catholic high school where the principal and one or more priests were regularly raping the girls and some of the boys. And the idea is that a number of the girls told this nun what was going on, and she was going to do something about it and suddenly turned up dead. And yeah, and they, through the miniseries, it's some investigative journalists that are working with, I think, 1 or 2 retired policemen that hadn't been able to solve it, and they're trying to dig up what they can. And it's the same thing. This principal had been transferred, but from at least one other school because of complaints, was sent to another high school. They had, I think, 4 different women and 1 man on the show who recounted stories of having been raped by the same principal. He would just get on the intercom, like in the loudspeaker at the school, and say, "So-and-so, come to my office." And they knew that she was going to get fucked, basically. And he called it therapy. It was therapy.
Therapy is a 2x4 upside the back of the head.
Yeah, no shit. But this poor nun, who was only, I think, 27, was found, I think, 3 or 4 days after she was murdered in a wooded area somewhere. And one of the girls eventually remembered the priest, this principal, taking her to the body and saying, "This is what happens to people who say bad things about other people." But I think they were trying to prosecute him. He got moved to another country, of course, and he ended up dying without ever being prosecuted.
This piece, by the way, Aubrey also had followed up from before, had double-checked. Age of consent is still 16 in Hawaii. So, good on that, by the way. Trippin had also said it is BS that a parent can give away a minor for marriage under 18.
Yeah.
I wanted to hit that one to kind of pull this together with where you're going with this one. The fact, and please, Trippin, don't think that I'm ragging on you for what you're saying, because I got a bunch of different things rolling through my head simultaneously right now, none of which are pretty. Fine. You know what? Let me get a couple of these out of the way really quick. The one that's really nasty. The youngest recorded pregnancy is 5 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that a second, and remember about that for later. Item 2. Homosexual behavior does not result in a pregnancy. It can, however, result in sexually transmitted diseases. But that's a whole other thing, because then we start dipping all over into the friggin' rabbis sucking off children.
Baby dicks.
But that's, again, a whole other thing. Like I said, a bunch of shit's going through my head right now. But Trippin, here's the thing. Trippin had said, it is BS that a parent can give away a minor for marriage under 18. Like I said, please don't think that I am in any way ragging on you. I'm ragging on the wording that you used, because that's the way that you worded it is the way that you've understood it. The idea that any parent can give away their child, in linguistic terms, you kind of break that down a little bit, that suddenly becomes uber creepy and at the same time wholly disgusting to think about now in the context of wait a minute, I'm giving another person over and I'm transferring ownership of someone that's underage as guardian and custodian of.
Well, it comes from the earlier attitude that children were a property. That's how they were viewed for centuries. If you even like a lot of the studying I've done from the Tudor and Elizabethan period, even the nobility, they considered their children to be their property, even as adults. So even a boy, as you know, a 17, 18-year-old boy in those days was considered a man, but you damn well did exactly what your parents said, period, even at that age. So a young man who fell in love with whatever woman, if that wasn't who your father wanted, too bad for you. If you want, a case in point would be the Borgia family, where famously the second son, Cesare, wanted to be a soldier and a general, and his father said, no, I decided since you were born that you were going into the clergy and I want you to be the next pope. And he was miserable his whole life until he actually killed his older brother so that he could be, because the older brother was the warrior and he wasn't suited for it. But the father had said, my first son will be the soldier, my second son will be the pope, and that's how I want it. And it screw whatever they wanted. And so that mentality for some people has carried on. And I think a lot of it is derived from the religious idea that I created you, therefore I own you, just like God created us and he owns us. And so I'm in God's image, and that's just how it is. I think that's where that whole notion comes from. And if anybody remembers my story of the wedding I attended last year, where it was a family wedding, and the father of the bride came up, down the aisle, and the priest thanked the father for his duty of bringing his daughter to fulfill her duty in life. And I'd only been there
to the back of the head.
I'd only been at the wedding 5 minutes, and I was ready to jump the pews.
Which does not sound nearly as disgusting as you might think. Here's the thing, though. Yeah.
Step 1, buy 2x4. Step 2, apply directly to back of head.
Yeah.
Repeat
Repeat until process system is rebooted.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20, go to 10. So, some of you understand that joke now here, but it comes down to power. It comes down to authority. It's the piece that, Joseph keeps ragging about. If people would just have responsibility for their own selves, and I'm highly paraphrasing right now, I know it. This would not be nearly the problem. And if those that were in some kind of apparent authority that actually aren't, the whole smoke and mirrors thing of religious authority in the society, which there's a whole other thing of later. I gotta remember later. If If the congregations could just have the curtain pulled away, if they could just see the charlatan behind the curtain, you know, how many people would be saved? How many kids would be saved?
But the thing is, how many times has that curtain been pulled away? The transfers of priests.
Oh, it's constantly pulled back. The problem is that they're still looking through God goggles.
I mean, the emperor has so many not new clothes anymore. I mean, the priesthood and the church as an institution is basically running around figuratively naked in light of all of this. I mean, you follow the trail of child molestations within, and I'll just use this one example, the Catholic Church.
The Holy See,
Well, because, I mean, let's face it, that's the biggest punching bag of them all.
Yes.
And with good reason.
And I mean, and I'm not talking recently. I'm talking, I'm still living at home with my parents watching this shit on TV, and I'm home from university. And night after night after night, I'm seeing story after story after story of priest after priest after priest being sheltered, being covered. And I mean, it's not like this is breaking news. It's been out there. It's been televised.
Yeah.
Like Dunning and Kruger are having simultaneous orgasms over this right now for all the freaking syndromes they're spreading around. Because if it's in your face that much and you still are shuffling your kids off to your local priest because, well, it can't happen to them.
And then when it does happen,
you're a fucking idiot.
Well, they're forgiven because they're God.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah,
I mean, did you guys see the Spotlight movie? Because that article it was the Boston Globe, and it was a section called Spotlight, and that group would do sort of exposés on, digging up the story that people don't want you to know kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that broke the scandal in Boston. That was in 2001.
Yeah.
2001. And at that time, I think they uncovered something like 78 priests just in Boston. That was in one city. And the expert that they talked to, and they quote this in the movie, and I believe because he was instrumental in trying to treat some of these priests. And in his research, he said that the offense rate among priests was around 4%, which is an astronomical number of priests. It was, and like they said, it was in a city the size of Boston. They expected to find about 80, and I think they were within 5 of that.
There's a piece. There's also another piece that I Brigid, you're still with us at this point, I'm assuming. Yeah. I mean, you didn't fall asleep or anything. All right. I don't know that you're going to know the numbers off the top of your head. I highly doubt it. But I want to take this from a different angle for a second. People who have been molested and raped at young ages, kids basically. And again, I'm not looking for exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure that you've got some semblance that we don't. What are the suicide rates for kids that have had this happen? Are they significantly higher than the national averages?
I mean, I don't have any specific statistics, but I would say, yeah, more than likely they would be. People who have been molested as children have a lot of mental problems and a lot of trauma. And I would think that would lead to higher suicide rates.
Because suicide is, generally speaking, driven by. Okay, I'm highly paraphrasing the possibilities, but generally speaking, it comes to an overall, well, nothing's ever going to change. Nothing's going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. Things would be better if I were completely out of the equation. So, well, that's one good way of dealing with it. Yep. That sounds pretty close.
Depression and hopelessness and, feelings of worthlessness.
Frustration of not being able to do anything. Nobody listening to you.
Realizing that no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, nothing's going to take away that stain, that moment.
You can't unring that bell.
Yeah, exactly.
I, not too long ago, said something on my wall that child abuse was worse than murder. And somebody said to me, oh, how could that be? Why could child abuse be worse than murder? I said, because the pain of child abuse is a life sentence, period.
It's the slow blade that penetrates the shield, to borrow from Frank Herbert's Dune.
It's been over 30 years, and I can still be in a situation that reduces me to just an automaton of catatonic anxiety with no warning. And I have no control over that. And like I said, 30 years later, most of the time I feel like it's a thing in the past, but you don't know when that's going to happen. You don't know when that's going to kick you in the gut, and you don't know when, you could be just a shell of yourself for the rest of the day, or 2 or 3 or 4 days. You just don't know. And nothing takes that away. Nothing is ever going to fix that. And I know when I was a teenager, when I used to get into arguments with my mother, and she used to say things like, why can't you just get over it? And that just, there's nothing, you can't even respond to that. There is no getting over it, period. It just doesn't happen.
Well, and from the perspective of, someone who hasn't had that happen to them, they can't understand.
No.
I mean, we could empathize. We could see when you're having that problem and try to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to truly know and understand, we can't. No. So when someone like that says, get over it, yeah, they're speaking from a very naive perspective in that they don't know.
No, it's even, you know what? Hold on a second. It's even worse than that. It's an absolute dismissal of the legitimacy of the feeling and the absolute power that kind of trauma has caused to somebody.
Absolutely.
I mean, we don't need to be medically trained, and forgive me for a second, to know full well the worst. I know I'm quoting from somebody, but the deepest cuts are the ones we never see.
Yep.
What gets done to your psyche affects you for the rest of whatever, and you don't need to have stitches in your arms or scars from when you're. Actually, where was it? It's over on this side. I still have scars. On my elbow from college because I was dumb enough to sleep next to the heater and got a water blister burn. Was that 2nd degree?
Nasty one.
Yeah.
Twice. I could show you a slag burn on my leg. I could show you a slag burn on my leg from also being stupid, but then that would prove / disprove whether or not I'm wearing pants. So
yeah.
Nope.
Very true.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put something out there that is actually very highly personal that I have not told to anyone outside of one very select person. When I was a kid trying to learn spelling in grade school, my father, to encourage me, said, okay, for every word you get right, I'm going to add something more to the ice cream sundae that you're going to have today. Cool. All right. And I got one wrong and he took something away from the collection. And I remember, whoa, wait, I already earned that. I've earned that. Why are you taking this away? Is this rape? No. But I remember it. It's not something that's, changed my life or anything, but is it something that's really that bad? No, but it's something that stuck with me from when I was, 8? And what am I now? 48? Guys, do you not understand what it is that you do to the minds of these?
No, they don't understand. They don't understand. Here's an example of not really having an understanding. They impress upon their children that I am mom or I am dad. Therefore, my word is law, just like it was impressed upon them through the religion. I am thy Lord God. My word is law. And so what they're doing is they're repeating everything that's been done to them. Okay? In one way, shape, or form of another. And so, I'm being punished because I did something that the book tells me was wrong. I told them something was wrong, therefore they're being punished. Or now they're seeing other things like, oh, they did something, they must have done something wrong because they're being punished. Them being the adult and the church saying, you're being punished because you must have done something wrong. We just don't know what it was. And so that becomes a logical step in parenting for these adults. And they turn to the children, oh, you were raped by the priest. You must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
And that's because that's what's ingrained in them.
Yeah. What was, I forget who it was that had the expression, bring me the child at 7, I will bring you the man. I'm butchering it, I know full well.
Isn't that's a JW saying, isn't it?
Isn't there supposed to be like a continuation of that? The man, the therapist, the drugs, the jail time.
That might be.
I think that's the cynical extension of it.
You mean the realist?
But by the way, I did a quick look and I found a study from 2001 that was published by the National Library of Medicine. I'm assuming it's American. It's .gov, and the results of their survey, and again, this is 2001, said young people who had experienced child sexual abuse had a suicide rate that was 10.7 to 13 times the national Australian rate. So this is an Australian one, I guess. But there were no suicides in the control group. 32% of the abused children had attempted suicide, and 43% had thought about suicide since they were sexually abused. So that's an Australian study from 2001 that I was able to find.
Okay, Brigid, you're somebody who understands medicine a hell of a lot better than we do. I would assume that sounds to be, for a lay person, I believe the expression is troubling.
That's pretty damn high.
Yeah.
Of course, there are a couple of pieces, statistically speaking, that we don't have numbers for, like how many were in the study. Some of that information may be in there, but a quick perusal, of course, it's still, if it's you know what? I'm going to go back on what I said earlier. The number is not 0.
Yeah.
That's a problem right there.
Yep.
The number is not 0.
Mm-hmm.
And what Tech had been saying about, people saying, well, they must have done something. The fucking Catholics have come out several times and said, well, those kids were seducing the priests and bullshit like that.
At 8 years old.
Yeah, well, and I even had it was about a year or so ago now. It was a thread with, it was this Muslim guy who was victim blaming and saying, you know, if you don't wear a hijab and all that shit, that you're just asking for it. And I said, oh yeah, so 10 years old, I was asking for it. And he said that if I was molested at 10 years old, I must have been running around naked or something to cause that to happen.
I've got a finger right up my sleeve that's just waiting for you, dude.
Oh, I know. I lit into him. It was actually on a thread on Google Plus like over a year ago. But it was like, I even posted it on Facebook, I think, and I was like, yeah, fuck you, buddy. Fuck you and the camel you rode in on.
Well, it's always the victim's fault. Always.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because
you don't have to be a hardcore Muslim to even say something like that. I mean,
no.
You get that shit in North American society.
Well, like I said, the Catholic priests, several of them have come out and said things like that, you know, or that, you know, if you're going to punish the priest, then, you know, you have to, the victim is supposed to have some consequences because they started it and stupid shit like that. And the other thing that pisses me the hell off about those guys is they're actively doing whatever they can to avoid paying reparations that they have been ordered to pay. And like it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I watched The Keepers. Some of you may have noticed I had a very angry post on my wall. And I actually had someone on my friends list sort of, well, you know, I forget what they were saying, but they were kind of trying to make excuses for the church. And you know, it would just, and I lost my train of thought there. But he said something about, because I said, you know, they have all this money. He's like, oh, I don't know. Some of those parishes are going bankrupt. I'm like, yeah, you know why they're going bankrupt? The church is doing it on purpose because those are the parishes that have judgments against them, and they want to prevent them from being able to pay out to the victims. And they're doing it where there's one parish, I think it was in New England, where suddenly all of the parish's money was being diverted to the cemetery fund. And they're, oh, well, we've always done that. Like, no, you fucking weren't. You did that on purpose so you didn't have to pay the victims, you fucking bastards.
Yep. And I found the picture that I was looking for. Picture of a young lady with red-colored hair, which, by the way, cool color. Good credit for that.
And she's got a pixie cut. Yep.
A black T-shirt. I don't recognize what the symbol is on it, and a backpack, and jeans.
Jeans.
Nothing special. And holding up a poster board that says, "This is what I was wearing. Tell me I asked for it. I dare you."
Yeah.
You know, it kind of brings up something, though, not so much that picture, but I was just thinking back on the parents who would willingly, you know, turn their daughter over for a marriage or turn their son over for a marriage or something like that. Let's say all of this worked out for the atheist movement, and we managed to get religion marginalized to the point where there was nothing left of it. The Catholic Church was gone from the North America. Islam was not a problem with us. Basically, God was a laughingstock amongst, let's say, the majority of the people. Would it still prevent some of this stuff? Because you got to think about some places where they've been sort of backwards thinking for centuries, not even with a religious undertone, but just with their own sort of internal cultural overtone. Like, is removing the church going to remove all of that? Or is there something more that we have to do?
I think yes. Not all at once, but yes, because religion is the bottleneck to being retaught what is reality and what is no longer your overarching, this may be the wrong terminology for it, but governorship.
Well, okay, you make a point. But in a lot of these very rural areas, unfortunately, this is, oh boy, I'm dovetailing into something I don't want to get into here, but
if
it's not relevant. So
okay.
I'll try to skirt it. But all I'm saying is that in a lot of these backwater hick towns, for lack of a better term, the church is the binding force of the community. And, you know, we've said this before. If you take that away, what do you, as the atheist, the secularist, whatever, what do you have to offer in return? And again, to quote Peter Boghossian, nothing. You know, we'll take it away, but then it's up to you to educate yourself, to learn. But a lot of people, they don't want to take that responsibility for themselves. I think if Joseph was here, he'd probably be berating me right now about this, me stepping into his turf. But, you know, you would suddenly get somebody with the charisma that everyone would gravitate to, and that would become the new community leader. And even with God out of the picture, that person could end up being worse than any Catholic priest, because he might invoke some kind of, well, now this is a community tradition. You know, and then it makes shit, what's his name?
Actually, I was going to say, as a perfect example, I can name, well, Jim Jones.
Thank you. Jim Jones. Any nut job like the Waco
David
guy.
Koresh.
Thank you. Yes,
That was the
Koresh.
other one I was thinking of too.
Yeah,
and you know, it's really fun. It's really ironic because I just finished off my colored water drink. So thanks ever so much for.
but it wasn't. Yeah, but it wasn't Kool-Aid. That's the thing.
No, it wasn't.
You know, but no, that's my point. Is that okay? So the church, we get rid of it, and hopefully we get rid of a huge child abuse ring as a result of it. But I don't think it ends there. I think there's a societal, there's something deeper, almost, you know, we're almost getting into the id part of the human psyche here. That part has to change. There has to be a cultural shift.
I'm gonna pull the geek card for a second.
Uh-huh.
And
Charisma.
Yeah.
modifiers +2.
Well, Tech, think about this a second. If you have enough charisma points in D&D, doesn't matter which edition it is, so nobody give me shit about whichever one, you can bluff, theoretically, somebody into thinking you're a tree in the middle of a plain and you've always been there because you rolled a natural 20 for a bluff.
Well, natural 20 doesn't care about your modifier, but you rolled high and then you have a huge modifier added onto it. The way D&D handles charisma is it's really simple. Hold on. It's the way people, their first impressions of you, and then how you interact with them. It tends to give you positive or negative outcomes based upon your base. So when you come across somebody in real life or in a game who is naturally charismatic, meaning that in the game they'd have a high score, or in real life they're just very charismatic because of whatever upbringing or how they are, whatever the case might be, they tend to be able to convince people to do what they want, or they tend to have other people be more forgiving of the little flaws that they see, or they'll tone down the big flaws into smaller flaws because of that as charisma.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like getting a get out of jail free card. More of like a get out of divorce court free card, you know.
Or it's just because you can. All right, where I'm going with this is, and Dalan, I want you to kind of bounce off of this for a second. I said that yes, it would get rid of it, but not all at once. Your concern is, in the meantime, somebody might swoop in and still take up that power void. Is perhaps the biggest problem that there are people who have used their own charisma or generated their own or found a way of juking the system in order to convince people that don't know better, that aren't educated enough to know better, into becoming part of that new dynamic, that new power structure, do you think?
Yeah, and that's where I'm going with it. You get a charismatic guy who has the same, let's just say, thoughts, and is able to spin it to the community that is now without a church, saying that, yeah, child fucking, underage marriages, and polygamy are the only way we can keep this community strong and knit together and American. Again, not sliding against anybody in the States, but let's face it.
No, because the first thing that I'm thinking of at this point is the freaking Mormons.
Yeah, they want to keep it Christian, or they want to keep it Mormon, or they want to keep it whatever their religious belief is.
Yeah,
no, I was thinking specifically Mormon, but anyway.
What I'm saying is, if you took a religion out of the picture completely, to the point where somebody mentions the word God, they get a tomato to the face. I mean, come on, let's face it, we all want that,
dude. That's like a wet dream. There.
I know, but what I'm saying is that if it ever got to that point, but then a lot of these communities that relied on the church for that sense of unity in community, and I did not mean that to rhyme, you get one of these sick, twisted fucksticks who still thinks, diddling kids is okay, or one of these NAMBLA motherfuckers who, pushed it for it to be legal, gets up on the soapbox with the mic and starts spinning it, using his own charisma to say that, hey, you know what? This community is strong. It's this, it's that. And then continues to twist it to the point where in that community, boys and girls are considered open season from the age of 9 on. In the meantime, every imam everywhere else is blowing a load in their pants wanting to come and visit this place, but that's another story entirely.
And then converted, of course. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. But what I'm getting at is that, yes, the religion is a big problem. We've always known that religion, or at least the priesthood, contributes, or is the core of all of this child abuse that we see. And we know the church is doing their best to cover it up. I don't care what denomination, whatever institution you're looking at, it's all shit and it's bad for you.
It's like my dad said. He'd go back to church on Sundays if they just excommunicated all the pedophiles.
So there wouldn't be much of a church left.
Yeah, no shit.
But I just worry that there would be something else waiting that could be just as bad or even worse for the kids. Largely because as a society, we as individuals in a society, not everybody is willing or able to take that personal responsibility for their own growth, to develop their own moral codes. I'm just throwing
Is there
it
a
out there.
coffee pot in the background?
Not me.
No.
Not me.
So
It's Heretic Woman's fidget spinner.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think I wasn't spinning it though.
Oh, I thought I heard it.
It wasn't mine.
No, and it's not a coffee maker because I don't own one.
Must be Brigid.
No.
Wait. Hold on. You don't own a coffee maker.
Nope.
Yet you have coffee in the house.
Wow.
Yes.
Must be crystals.
It's instant coffee, and I use it in my hair. Long story.
That's how she attracts a mate.
No, he doesn't like
Dalan.exe has stopped functioning. Press Control Alt Delete or F1 to continue.
Keyboard not found. Press F1 to continue.
I was going to say that it can't be to find a mate because he doesn't like coffee either.
Oh, so that's what you're doing on your Friday nights, huh?
Yeah. Long story, I'll tell you later.
So it's the power vacuum that would end up happening. That would get filled in because the group would be primed for it. Even though it's destructive and it's harmful. And I'm God, this is gonna hurt. We're almost out of time, so the last thing that we need to address, I guess, is the big elephant in the room that is kind of tangential to the whole thing that spins a lot of it. Why can't the people who are in charge of getting these rapists allowed to do their motherfucking jobs? I'm no police officer. I'm not in charge of enforcing the law, but we end up hearing time and time again, too many damn times, which is more than zero, of people that are never brought to justice because the law enforcement is not allowed to do their motherfucking job. That one priest who doesn't want to fly back to Australia because he's got a bad ticker, for instance, comes to mind.
Put him on a boat.
Yeah.
Why is this not allowed to go through?
It brings me to mind of the opening scene in Spotlight, the movie, where it's in, I think, the 1960s. There's two children at a police precinct being interviewed. They've got the priest in an interrogation room, and there's a young rookie policeman who's working the front desk, and a lawyer comes in and says, "Oh, hi, I'm here for Father so-and-so." And they said, "Oh, well, he's over there, you know, he's facing some pretty big charges, yada, yada." And the lawyer says, "Oh, he's not going to be charged. I'm taking him back to Rome tomorrow." And the young policeman is just like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, well, we can't have that happen. You know, we'll take care of it. We're the church." And just the look on that cop's face was, and the more experienced detectives like, "It's okay, son, you know, this is how we do things, blah blah blah." And the guy's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons there's some other reasons, I think, fear and money. Like when you're looking at the higher ups of the government, you got fear, you get the more pious people in there. You piss off the church, suddenly you don't get your good word in with God when you go to the great hereafter. And for us, that, of course, that doesn't hold water for us anymore.
Yeah, let me punch you in your aura, you know?
Yeah, but for a lot of people, it still does.
But when you think about it, they can't really believe this shit is true, because if you believe that your God knows everything, it's gonna know that you're only saying you're sorry because you got caught. It's gonna know that the minute you're alone with another kid, you're gonna do the same fucking thing.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the government. The government officials who won't, go through with a prosecution because they're scared that the church is going to, they won't look that good in the eyes of God anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, for us, it's bullshit, but
or greater society, because that was something else that came up in Spotlight was, well, we don't want to, sully the name of the church because the church was so ingrained in that community, and the church was donating money for community projects, and it was, providing schools and whatnot, and the people even some of the victims, their family members got upset that they would dare to malign the name of the church. It's like, I didn't fucking do it. It's Father so-and-so that's maligning the name of the church, but because they are supposedly untouchable, it was always the victim that got shit on.
And then the other thing is, I think, money.
Yes.
I think, Shujin, a lot of palms are being greased.
Yes.
With the greenback, so that the church can sort of go about its business over and above, any legal tenets, like a priest just gets mysteriously shipped back to Rome, even though he's under arrest, and nobody will do anything about it because I would say there's been money changing hands.
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely something rotten about the whole thing, and follow the money.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, the children, the most innocent of us, are the ones caught in the crossfire of this corrupt game of perversion, bribery, willful ignorance, cognitive dissonance, and just plain. It's the kind of behavior that would give Satan a boner. And it's coming from the priests.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I will say this until I am blue in the face, but every time I hear some religious twit going on about, they have to do something about homosexuals, or they have to do something about transgender, or this or that, because of the children, it's like, fuck you. You don't give a fucking shit about children. You're only using them as a pawn to get what you want because you think something is icky. And every time I hear, well, we have to have bathroom bills because of the children, I'm like, no, you don't care about the children. You just want to use people to shit on transgender people. And it angers me the most when they use that argument, because they are taking victims and survivors like myself and using us to their own bigoted ends.
I would ask this: where was your concern for the children when the priest was abusing all those kids? Ask them that, and then like, okay, oh, you didn't answer me. Okay, that tells me that you are as complicit as everybody else.
And I've even said this on my Facebook, is if you are a practicing Catholic that is going to mass and giving those fuckers money, you are supporting the systematic cover-up and abetting of child molestation. You are giving money to child sexual predators.
Yeah, I saw that post.
Yeah.
And all I could think was like, yep, that's her. I know her. That's her.
That was when I got the guy who was like, I forget what he said now. I was so mad, but he was like trying to make excuses and saying I know what it was. He's like, oh yeah, that's like saying, the Masons or this organization or that organization, if there's one person who commits murder, then you're supporting murder by giving them. I'm like, no. Like, number one, too colloquially. Number two, we don't have any evidence that there's a systematic cover-up going on in any other group other than the fucking the Catholics, the J-dubs, the Mormons, the Scientologists. There's documented cover-ups in all of those groups. And oh, gee, what do they have in common? Yeah. So, but yeah.
It's yeah. You go to church, you're supporting pederasts, period, in a conversation. There is no reason to listen to any religion, for that matter. Not just Christianity, but any of them. They all give bad advice. They all are demeaning towards women. They diminish human life in many respects. They make you focus on not the here and now, but something that cannot be determined, something that cannot be proven to exist, something that let me rephrase that. Not that it cannot, but it has not been proven to exist. It has not shown any scientific data or empirical data indicating that something happens after death and that we go to an afterlife of some sort and that there's judgment. All right. There is no reason to listen to religion or anybody preaching religion whatsoever. And as for people to say, oh, we should get along, bullshit. Getting along means that our children get raped or molested or both. Getting along means that your friend who might be of the LGBT community is having to fight to be treated like a human being because some asshole has decided that them being treated fairly will somehow diminish their own life in some way, shape, or form. Or that it will tarnish their own life in some way, shape, or form. Or very unrealistic fears. Okay? Your support, by being, going along with it, you're supporting ignorance. And you're supporting bigotry and racism. Don't do that. Use rationality, use logic. Have a freaking heart. Be a humanist if you want to be anything. I don't care if it's a transhumanist, and it doesn't mean what you think it means. But just be a humanist. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to just care about other people for the sole sake of caring about people. You also be surprised at how much you get done when there's no conditions included, like, I got to do this and be this way, otherwise I'm not going to get into some Sky Fairy's god afterlife. No, just treat that guy on the street, like a human being. Treat that young lady that you've just met like a human being. That's all you have to do. But don't buy the bullshit. Don't swallow that. And don't try to get along with it. There's no reason to.
Brigid, anything that you want to close out with?
You're on mute.
There.
Or she's dozed off.
Which is possible.
No, just kidding. That's just, hey, Brigid, don't pull a tech. Don't pull a tech.
That really sounds more disgusting than you know right now. So, thanks.
You had to go there. That's the thing.
Sorry.
Brigid's
there she is.
Sorry. I got nothing.
That's okay.
Nothing beyond that's what's said. That's understandable.
Oh, sorry. I had a migraine yesterday and I'm still really out of it.
Oh, man.
It's okay. Sorry about that. Let me just wrap this real fast. Do kids matter? That's what it comes down to. Do kids matter? Does the justice matter for your kids? And I'll even go as far as to say our kids, because they're part of our society. It doesn't matter what side of whatever geographic border or political one. There are kids. They're our next generation. They are the ones who are going to be choosing how the society progresses. And if you can't see what your apathy is doing to these kids already, not just making them kill themselves at a far and away higher rate than, well, zero, then maybe the changes that they're trying to implement, the ones that they're trying to make have happen, the people that they are trying to hold accountable, maybe they need to have those things happen. Maybe they need to be behind bars. Maybe they need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of whatever law. Because isn't it always the argument that we end up hearing, the argument of morality? If you're an atheist, if you do bad things, if you rape and kill, and then you kill yourself, what's your punishment? I'm dead. Well, we think that, you know what, you can just stop right there. Because your punishment, while still alive, is still waiting for you behind door number 2. Sooner or later, you're going through that door, one way or another. Because either it's going to be through the legal system or your own moral system. History has a way of not forgetting. And as it is, you're tainted if you stay with it. And if you're part of the system already, I think you've got a moral obligation, never mind a legal one. I believe the term is whistleblower. As always, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and found something interesting and different to think about through all of this. As always, everybody, thank you for being with me. Tech, you have yourself a good morning. Thank you very much for your time, man.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Brigid, thank you very much. I hope you feel better. And try to have yourself a good weekend, huh?
Well, I'm going to sleep.
Fair enough.
Sleep
Thanks,
is good.
man. Heretic Woman, thank you for your time, of course. And plug all of the things, including explain this new accoutrement you have over your left shoulder.
Well, that would be the Canadian Pride flag. And, of course, it's Pride Month, but tomorrow is the big Pride Toronto parade, and I'll be heading over there to enjoy the festivities. So, well, actually, that's today now. So, in a few hours, I'll be on my way to Toronto. So, I'm very much looking forward to that. Kind of ironic, your 5-minute freestyle, because tomorrow's guest will be Gleb Kaspersky to talk about the Truth Pledge. So
that's okay.
This should be interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's been booked for like a month and a half. So
for what it's worth, I would be very interested to have a post-mortem with you.
Okay.
Unofficially, because there's a couple of things. But again, later.
Yeah. So that's happening tomorrow tomorrow Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Beyond the Trailer Park. So should be fun. Yeah, I think that's about everything. But yeah, Pride tomorrow. Anybody in Toronto, the atheist community of Toronto, we're having a meetup, so you can take a look on Meetup and find us if anybody's in the Toronto area, and you can hang out with some some atheist type. Apparently, where we're meeting, the organizers hoping there's going to be some religious fanatics with picket signs. I'm really hoping there is, because I love religious fanatics with picket signs.
You, your GoPro, and your loud voice. By the way, is Justin supposed to show up?
I had not heard that. I don't think so, but he was there last year. But it doesn't matter, because next weekend I'm going to be in Ottawa on his doorstep anyway.
Very cool.
Because that's the big Canada 150th anniversary on Canada Day. So I will not be here next week. I will be in Toronto or in Ottawa with a shit ton of fireworks.
Celebrating
and apparently
outside the National Igloo, right?
Yes, outside the National Igloo. And apparently I was just reading yesterday that Bono and The Edge are showing up to sing a song. So they're only showing up at noon to sing one song. Because then they're like going to Chicago or something for another concert. But they're showing up to say hello. So this should be fun. So yeah, looking forward to that too.
Very cool. You have your safe time and enjoy the hell out of it.
I will. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so hopefully it won't be too bad, because I really don't want to stand out and be wet all day. I'm meeting as somebody I haven't met before, and they said they have 2 rainbow umbrellas, so I may just borrow one of theirs.
Very cool.
Yeah, rainbow.
Woo.
All right. And Dalan, of course, as always, thank you very much. Good to have you back. I'm glad you're able to stay awake for this one. Plus, you let me know in no uncertain terms you really wanted to be part of this one.
Yeah, the subject matter combined with a few other things that I'd been watching over this week just all kind of came to a head. So I figured, you know what, let's put that extra cup of coffee on. And, it's Sunday. As long as I've got pants on before the nurse shows up, I'm good.
Fair enough.
And they usually don't show up till around noon on weekends anyway. So, yeah, I got time to sleep in.
There you go.
So if anybody wants to thank Dalan for the work that he does, what should they be referencing when they get in touch with you?
Fixing it
well,
post.
I really don't want to put this show on any kind of podcasting resume, because there's so little I fix and post. And people would look at me and go, your editing skills are really shit.
Yeah,
because I'm still on every episode that I've attended.
Look, if you go through the podcaster's editing rule, for every minute of recorded audio that makes it through, you have gone through 5 minutes of editing.
Wow.
And these shows are like 2 hours each. Like, this could become a full-time job if you really wanted me to get through every single little nuance and sniffle and
Nope.
Everything.
Nope.
The most I do is your good night at the end sometimes comes in a little soft, so I might amp that. I throw the intro and outro music on it, and maybe beef up, and normalize the audio a little bit to make it, all sound better. But there's not much more I can do there unless we get. Oh, I think we had one where we were all muted or something, but I remember there was like almost 5-6 minutes of just dead air that I managed to cut out. But anyways, if any of you are interested in the audio version of this, of course, go over to holycrapthevlogcast.com. There's an RSS feed there for all of our shows, right back from episode 1 up to, well, right now 162, but that will be resolved probably as of tomorrow, now that I've got a little bit of energy.
Take your time, full well.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's my my own blog, which I had to start over again because the database behind it corrupted and kind of went.
Oh.
That's okay. You know what? It's fine, because a lot of the stuff I had on there really wasn't that good anyway. But that's over at inthewind.wild5.ca.
As always, man, thank you very much for doing what you do. When you get to it, please remember, everybody, we do this because we want to, not because we're getting paid for it. So we get around to getting the pieces when we can. If it's a little inconsistent, sorry. This is what we do for entertainment, because we're a bunch of nerds.
If I had a nickel for every time I said I don't get paid for this, I'd rupture the space-time continuum. Because then I'd be getting paid for saying I don't get paid.
Wow, that's like 16 walls.
Get that. Thank you, Shujin Deadpool.
You're welcome. For everybody, of course, thank you. As was mentioned, holycrapthevlogcast.com will have a whole bunch of the stuff that you're looking for. If you want to leave us a voicemail message, 859-HCTV 554 859-428-8554. Real quick, if you would like to donate to Ride for Roswell, again, the team is still going to be accepting donations through the end of the summer. The team name is End of Cycle for Sarcoma, and that's rideforroswell.org. Links are in the description for that. There was another piece that I needed to make reference to. I will also not be available next week because I'm going to be in Pittsburgh for Anthrocon, because go Anthrocon. So we will see how things are going to work next week. Not quite sure just yet. We will keep you informed. Item blast. After kicking around the idea for a while and kind of trying to figure out what can be done, I am going to be seeing about opening up a Patreon account for the show. I am not looking for a bunch of money. I've kind of floated this around a couple times before. I'm not looking for us to be making, new paychecks. I'm looking to just basically say, if folks want to put into the hat, you're welcome to put into the hat, because that's going to offset a little bit of hosting and, domain registration, little stuff like that. It's not going to be, a huge thing. I don't expect it to be. But I'm also going to be seeing about updating the website a little bit, getting the video links into each of our things, and making sure some other stuff is better updated. But otherwise, I'm going to see about getting some things done. And additionally, I'm also going to see about having a Tuesday night, because that's my only free night otherwise, a Tuesday night, couple of hours set aside, where I will come on to Hangouts, and those that are Patreons will have the opportunity of coming on to discuss matters, talk at greater lengths about stuff that we've done, shoot the shit, whatever. So be on the lookout for that. I will let everybody know when that goes live. But in the meantime, thank you for being with us, and thank you for supporting us, even with just sending us a message and saying hi. So until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, 12 years on, I'm still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. We made 20 miles today. Dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, good night.